for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here.
With Barnet Bain. Good moment, everyone.
You are here.
I am here. I'm present.
Hey, listen, before we get going, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, the folks at Hierophant Publishing, Hampton Roads Publishings, and Inside Events USA. They are the ones that make this show possible. We are grateful for them, not only for their support, but for the amazing work they do in the world, the amazing books they put out, and the crazy amazing events that they put on that we appreciate. So thanks to them.
And welcome all of you driving around. Where are you going?
You're back.
I'm back. Yeah, I've been all over the place. It's been good.
I love it. You went to the Sedona Film Festival.
I did.
You had I love that film, by the way. This is a documentary, folks, a documentary about the genocide in Rwanda and the healing process afterwards. It features our friend Lori Layden, who takes... CCH Pounder. And
yes. It was very well received. Packed house, standing ovation. People stuck around, I think, 100% for the Q&A. I was very moved. It was very moving.
What I love about this is it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And really, you and I have had a private conversation about this, that's all we really care about. I mean, it doesn't mean we don't have to pay our bills. We do. But there is...
Didn't pay any bills off that one.
But yes, I understand that. But it still fits in the context of what you do, right? Mm-hmm. I'll speak for myself. Mm-hmm. Because, look, there are things I do that I get paid for and things I don't get paid for. But I still do them in the context of this, what I have to contribute out in the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, there is a difference in my life, and it wasn't always this way, but there's a difference now. I used to hold work when I was a young man. I used to hold work as something that was transactional. I held work for... unless I was getting paid for it, it wasn't work. And I have a different understanding of work now. Work is whatever it is that is in alignment with my purpose in the world. And if I serve in that way, then I am also served. I'm taken care of, at least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's what we're going with. But the component that is critical is love. That we love what we do, and that there's a service component.
Yeah, that's absolutely so. And what a smooth segue artist you are, Freeman Michaels, because it just so happens that we have the love guru on with us today, my friend Steve Farber, who's the founder of the Extreme Leadership Institute and author of The Radical Leap. This is the 10th anniversary edition that I am holding in my hands.
Such a great book.
It is a great book. He's also the author of Wall Street Journal bestseller Greater Than Yourself and The Radical Edge.
Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It is great to be here. It's great to be anywhere. So we're glad you're with us this morning.
So Barnet was talking about, and maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't, that the primary sort of component of making choices in terms of what we do in our lives, both Barnet and I, is that there's a loving element, that we love it. Barnet just finished a film that aired, that showed at a film festival in Sedona. And even though it wasn't, quote unquote, profitable, it didn't matter. It was part of the breadth of what he wants to create in his life and put out in the world. And obviously some of these things are profitable, or he wouldn't have, shoes on his feet and trousers to wear. Right. But the fact is, the primary objective is to love it and put it out as service. And I know that's your orientation. So that's how we want to introduce you, as a guy that's made his life about how do we put love first? How do we put service first? And know that, or maybe not know even, that profits will follow.
Yeah, that's really true, and it's really interesting that whenever we have, it seems to me anyway, that whenever we have a conversation like this, we put on all these qualifiers like, yeah, this is even true in business, and it's even true when we're trying to make a profit, and I think it's especially true in business, and it's especially true when we're trying to make a profit, whether it's you're an artist or you're a so-called traditional business, we want to create an environment that people love working in, because that's going to create a product or service that our customers are going to love. I mean, this is a very fundamental human experience, and I think the lines that we draw between our kind of personal passions and what we do to put, as you say, shoes on our feet and trousers on our body. I prefer pants.
I like the word trousers, though. That's a good word.
But this is such a, as you say, a radical leap. It is a paradigm shift, precisely because we have all been conditioned to hold that work is something that we gave away. We trade away our lives in return for to make a living, and then eventually we retire, and then we're supposed to cram in a whole life into a retirement window on the golf course. But what you're talking, the radical leap, and so people when they say, well, especially in business, that really points to me at how we silo out our work life from a value-driven experience of connecting, loving, supporting each other, being supported each other, and that is the radical leap.
Yeah, exactly. And LEAP is my kind of framework for what I describe as extreme leadership, and it stands for love, energy, audacity, and proof. And love is really the foundation of it. And this isn't something that I made up in a vacuum. I mean, I've been working with business leaders for over 25 years. And when I just stopped and asked myself, what is it that the really great ones do, the people that I call the extreme leaders, they bring their hearts to work. I mean, they love the people on their team. They love their customers. They love the work that they're doing. And I think you're right. I think we've been conditioned somehow to believe that work is a place that we go to, earn the money to live our lives in the evenings and on weekends. And what a tremendous waste of human life. And we spend more and more of our time at work. Why not love it? Why not put that out there as the objective?
Well, and it's not good for business. I mean, this sort of line that we hear, it's just business, which is a way of saying I'm cutting off any connection or emotional tie, right? It's really, really, really transactional. And somehow or other, that's held as a noble way to approach things. Well, it's just business.
It's business, as they say in Goodfellas. It's business.
Yeah, and this is to say it's a kind of cognitive dissonance, right? It's a separation where, I have my life where I'm a good guy, and then in business I
can do anything.
I objectify everyone, and what you're saying, I think, is that that's bad for business.
Yes, it's bad for business, and it's bad for humanity.
Yes.
It's funny you say that, because I just yesterday evening posted a blog post on that very thing. It's this idea that it's not personal, it's just business.
Yeah. That
we draw this line, and I think in a lot of ways there's an artificial line between work and in fact, we say in work and in life.
Right.
In work and in life.
We say work-life balance. We have this crazy thing as if the work we're doing is not part of our life.
Exactly. In work and in life implies that there's life, and then there's death. And then death is,
well, you missed the retirement part in Barnett's equation. That if we work really hard and we suffer for 40 plus years, then we get the last 10 to 15 years of our lives.
We get the accelerated road to death.
Yeah, exactly. The leg off or something stupid.
Yeah, and the thing that people really need to understand, I've got to be. I just have to be really, really clear about this. This is not about putting on a happy face and pretending that we love the people that we work with when we really, don't. And this is not, California touchy-feely hoo-ha crap. This isn't about group hugs and everybody walking around smiling all the time. I mean, love is a complicated emotion.
There's no place for you and me, Freeman, in this equation.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a powerful emotion, and it's a human emotion, and to say that we need to rip our heart out of our chest and leave it throbbing on the curbside when we walk into the office is just insane, and I think it's quite literally insane. To say that we shouldn't bring our hearts to work, because we do. It's there. It's we're the same we play different roles, but we're the same person, the same DNA, the same thoughts, the same experience, the same likes, dislikes, and just why not bring that more fully into our work and make it a more enjoyable experience?
Well, and make it an organizing principle. I'm going to tell you that you're on my wall in my office. There's a big quote that says, love what you do in service to people. Do what you love in service to people who love what you do. And of course, it says Steve Farber after that, because that for me is a mantra, right? It's an organizing principle to what I choose to take on or don't take on, and how I choose to show up in relationship to what I do take on, in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say that I'm honored that I'm on your wall.
You should see who else is on his wall before you get too honored.
And I know that I'm on your wall is the figures of speech, the words that are on your wall. But that phrase, do what you love in the service of people who love what you do, is really, it was my attempt to bring this whole thought together. And you break it down like this: doing what you love is important, but it's not the whole story, right? You could argue that criminals are doing what they love too. That doesn't qualify them for extreme leadership, I don't think. Right. So it's doing what you love in the service of people. That's both the moral context and the ethical context and the business context. So my heart's in it, but I'm doing this. I'm using my heart in order to give great value to you to such a degree that the impact it'll have on you is that you love me in return. Right? Those are, from a business perspective, those are your best customers. From a personal perspective, those are your closest friends. And it's just kind of a nice, convenient mantra to just pull it together, and it's a good reminder, I think, for all of us, myself included.
So there are hallmarks to this quality of extreme leadership, and I've heard you speak before. You talk about gratitude. You talk about the power of thank you. You talk about, in your view, that it is a characteristic of leadership that leaders be able to both inspire and connect and create community. You want to dive into that a little bit for us?
Yeah, it's really important because the feeling of love is great, but it doesn't do anybody else any good unless they see evidence
in action
there. Yeah. Right. So if you're on my team, for example, and I really love that you're on my team, and my heart does a little dance every time you walk into the office every day. My feeling that way about you doesn't do you any good unless I show it, right? So how do you show it? How do you apply it? And that can be done. There are probably thousands of ways. I just think we need to pay attention to it and be more conscious and intentional. So, like I said, gratitude, writing a personal note to somebody is a age-old, powerful way to say that I really care about you and the work that you do. Giving somebody your full attention when they're talking to you, as opposed to letting your mind and eyes wander around the room when they're spilling their guts, or even just talking about something that you think is unimportant. To them, it's obviously very important, otherwise they wouldn't be saying it. Giving somebody that kind of attention is a way of saying, I love you enough to show you that I care. So if you just think it through, these are the kinds of things that we do with people in our personal lives that we love. And it's a highly charged word. I'm not saying you need to love your coworkers the same way you love your spouse or child or significant other, but it's still love. It's just shown in a little different way. And this is not something that we need to teach people. It's just something that we need to be aware of.
And we need to model it so that people feel that they have a permission that is modeled from the leaders. Leaders model this, and then people feel invited into and safe.
But I want to say what the challenge is.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to shoot straight after it. Most people in the relationships don't do a good job of repair. They don't do a good job of repair.
What do you mean by that?
Well, this is the point. It's true. It's great to demonstrate your love by being present. It's great to demonstrate your love by being grateful. It's great to demonstrate your love by encouraging someone. Super. But what about when we don't do that? And this is true for everyone, right? When we fall off of the way we would love to show up, we show up as a jerk, which I have done many times in my life. the rubber hits the road both in our personal relationships and especially in our business relationships. But now that there's an especially, they're both true. How do we repair? So we need to take a quick break. When we come back, so I'll give you a second to think about this, Steve. I know you've got an answer, but I want a really great answer. So when we get back, you're going to pick up how we repair as an expression of love after this break here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
We're back. You're back with Barnet and Freeman and our guest, Steve Farber. So before the break, we were talking about how one repairs. How does one repair? And we gave you ample time to conjure up a masterful response. So have at it.
Yeah, so it's actually a very easy question for me to answer, because if you want to look at the kind of the dictionary, definition of far from perfect, I'll be one of the people listed there.
That's right.
There's probably 1,000 ways to answer that question too. Just as there are 1,000 ways to show love, there are 1,000 ways to break it, and there are probably 1,000 ways to repair it. But one in particular, I think, really is very difficult for a lot of people to do, and it goes a long way when you do it with authenticity, and that's, of course, not only the apology, but the real apology and even the public apology. So, I live a lot of my life working with organizations, right? So leadership is a very public act. When you're surrounded by people and you're leading a team or a division or a department or a business unit or a company, for that matter. So when you break that trust, when you make a mistake, when you show up as like you said, as a jerk one day, it's usually not just a one-on-one interaction. That spreads like wildfire. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about it, and stay away from Farber. He's in a bad mood, kind of thing. So to be cognizant of it, to know when you're doing it, to accept the feedback that you've screwed up in some way, and then to apologize. To get up in front of people, plural, and say, "Listen, I had a bad day. I'm really sorry. I'm not making excuses, but I apologize," and then move forward and acknowledge it, correct the behavior, and move forward. But putting it on the table and copping to your own imperfection is a very powerful thing. And actually what it does is it strengthens the connection between you and everybody else, because nobody's perfect. Everybody screws up. So it gives even another way to relate.
Yeah, so humility in this context is a leadership quality.
Oh, without a doubt. Because
I think the challenge is that a lot of the leadership persona, because I think there's a persona that isn't authentic leadership, but it's typical in the business world, is positional. That people get positional and they want to be right.
Or omniscient.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what the radicalness of this is that humility now is raised up as a quality that is far more critical than, quick with an answer or, solution guy or something like this. It's a new sort of order, if you will, of priority.
Yeah, I think it is a new order of priority. I mean, obviously it's nothing new in terms of human relationship, but it is new in a business context that where it's becoming more of the conversation that's saying it's a good thing, right? Because again, it comes back to that conditioning that says, if I'm in positional leadership, if I'm in a position of authority, what that means is I need to be right all the time. I need to be perfect. I need to have all the answers. And the irony in this is that the minute a person appears to be perfect, they become suspect.
Big time.
Because again, we all know there is no such thing. So therefore, it creates the suspicion that says, well, what's he hiding? What's she hiding?
Well, they become unrelated. They become unrelatable. It becomes hard to relate to them, right? That's right.
Untrustworthy.
So instead, to say, listen, that I screwed up is a very powerful thing to say, and it creates more credibility. Now, listen. If people are making mistakes due to apathy or just they're not skilled enough to have the job that they have, and they make the same mistakes over and over again, then all of this, eventually, you can't apologize it away, right? It's like,
you can't apologize for incompetence. You can apologize for lapses of character or judgment.
That's right. I mean, if you find yourself apologizing too much, something's wrong. It's like, I'm sorry again. Oh, I did it again. I'm so sorry. And after a while,
that becomes
yes, you are.
Yeah, that becomes a racket at some point. I guess if we go back to this priority thing, it might be what you said previously, that the new priority is that your heart is in it, right? I mean, that's again simplifying, but it's putting the L first, the love first. Is that the critical sort of litmus test is your heart in it, and how are you showing up as, sort of open-hearted and authentic and real and so forth?
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to just nudge this heart conversation over one or two clicks, because with heart comes courage. And you speak really delightfully, with a lot of fun, about the courage that is required to step way outside the comfort zone, way outside the bubble of familiarity.
Yes, that's right, exactly. So the OSM, capital O, capital S, exclamation mark, capital M. Very important to spell it correctly.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing, and it is the kind of subjective internal experience of what it means to really put love into the environment in such a way that it scares you a little bit. That's what we should do. We should push it to that point. And courage, as it's often talked about, but courage and love are really they come from the same root, because the word courage comes from the Latin word cur, I think it's how it's pronounced, or the French word cur, which means heart. So courage is literally having heart. So love and courage are very closely connected, even in their origins, in the way that we speak about it. But in the experience, love is the motivator, right? Love is what gets us to step up and try to change the world for the better. And whenever we try to do that and push against the boundaries and get out of our so-called comfort zone, the OSM is there as really a kind of the sign of proof that we're really doing it, not just talking about it, not just thinking about it, not just convincing ourselves that we are, but that we actually are.
What I think we're weaving in this part of the conversation is that there's an element of risk in leadership. There's an element of growth as a natural
prerequisite.
A prerequisite, yeah. So it's again sort of what are we organizing around? Are we organizing around sort of more and further and learning and growth, which for me puts a kind of life. I know that's maybe it is or maybe it isn't, but the E part of your equation in the LEAP equation, that the energy has to be there. There's a sense of purpose. There's a sense of risk. There's a sense there's something at stake. Maybe you can speak to that, because I see that as a critical component. It's not just about everyone playing nice. It's about actually upping the ante to keep the energy alive.
Yeah, that's right. I define audacity, one of the elements of LEAP, as a bold and blatant disregard for normal constraints in order to change the world for the better.
I love that.
So the motivation here is to change the world. Now, you can define world in the broadest sense, capital W world, or you can define it in the small w sense, like change the world of our customers, of our team, of our viewers, of our listeners, of our community, of our neighborhood, of our family, whatever. I mean, you define what world is. But it's changing the world. That's however you define that, for the better is the qualifier. However you define that is what extreme leadership is about. So it's not just about being a loving person, which is great, but to be an extreme leader is being that loving person and using that heart to generate the energy necessary to change the world for the better. And to prove that, and to prove all of that through your actions. That's LEAP. That's really what taking the leap is. So it starts with that purpose to change things for the better.
So this purpose, which changes things for the better, it is a step outside what is known. It is this very bold leap into uncertain territory. The secret sauce here that provides the resilience in this chaos is the heart piece.
Yes, I think so. It's the, well, for one thing, stepping into the unknown is, by definition, that's what you're doing if you're trying to change the world for the better, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be. If it was already known, it wouldn't really be a significant change, would it? So I think it is the heart. So in business, we're told, we're trained to say that, all right, the idea here is you want to be more, let's say, more profitable. Lots of metrics that we use, but let's say more profitable, kind of the bottom line metric. And we still have to do that. I'm not saying, well, we should forget about the numbers because I don't really love this project or I don't really love this, this particular thing. So the numbers aren't important. Well, they are. If you're in business, the numbers are important. But the difference, the nuance here is, when I'm taking on a project, for example, and maybe it's something that I've been assigned, I don't really have any discretion as to say yes or no. I got to say yes. Can I find something in this that I love? Can I find some impact that we can have with it that's really going to make a difference? Can I find people on my team that are really counting on me? Can I get into the mind of the customer, the end user? There's lots of different scenarios, and then it becomes, can I use that to really have a significant impact to change these people's lives for the better? So it's constantly asking that question of ourselves. I think in some ways it really is as simple as that. Just stopping every so often and asking, why do I love this? Or what about this do I love? Or where can I bring my heart into this thing that I even don't want to do?
And that becomes a new context for profits. For me, and I'll just speak about my own orientation, is I want my profit to come from value. One of the things I struggle with, and I know you were a trader at one time, I think it was commodities futures, is that becomes a game, right, where there's no real value being created. I mean, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I got a buddy who's a trader who just plays the trends. If it goes up, he trades, and I don't know how he does it, but somehow or other he makes a lot of money playing this game with this imaginary money. And we've had a conversation about, and he said, kind of openly, it's kind of soulless. Like, I don't really create any value in the world. And I get that for me, what I want to be motivated is, am I creating value in the world? Yes, I want to receive value in return. I want it to be reciprocated. Reciprocal in my mind is about balance and harmony, right? Not about just, keeping score or anything like that. It's really about this quality within my heart, that it feels good. It feels in alignment. It's about creating value for people and then receiving back value in return, which elevates profits out of the sort of bottom line thinking to something much more, in my mind, important.
Yes, I agree. That's exactly my orientation as well, which I would hope would be, given the message that I have. But remember that we're talking about leadership. I mean, my lens is extreme leadership. So your friend, the trader, for example, when he's trading, he's not leading, he's trading. And, and what value is he creating? Well, if you really want to squint and find something, he's helping to create liquidity in the markets. Right? That's the justification that we used to use. And it's a good one, and it's true, but it's not leadership, right? So can you make money? Can you prosper? Can you, buy big homes and great cars without putting, love into your work and without, creating value that's going to change the world? Of course, there are people that do that every day. But if we're talking about creating an environment that really engages other people, that really is going to have a significant impact on the lives of the people that we touch, then the heart needs to be there. So can you make money without the heart? Yes. Can you lead without it? I don't think so.
And why do you think that people are so predisposed to chase the meaning and purpose second,
right,
and the house first?
The big car.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, ask the question again. Predisposed to what?
They're so predisposed to chase the house, the car, the stuff first.
The status, the money.
And the meaning and purpose and the value second.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. Listen, I love material things as much as the next guy. Well, maybe not as much as the next guy. It depends who the next guy is. But
which next guy?
And I think it's because we do get joy from all of that. Speaking for myself, those are all signs of they're manifestations of freedom for me, that I have options, that I'm able to live my life as I please, which is really really important to me personally. But I think the other thing is that we latch onto it because it's so tangible. You can see it. You can touch it. You can go for a ride in it. You can, light a fire in your house. You can, in the fireplace. You can, these are all very tangible, experiential things. And so they're really compelling. If I get that car, it's the old status symbol thing, right? There it is. There's the symbol of my success. And it's a bit of a leap for some people to trust that will follow, when it doesn't seem to be as linear as if I, for example, if I had somebody and I get them to pay me money for something that has no value, I can buy that car. That's not what this is about. Now, that may be an easier way to get the car, but it's not going to have the right kind of effect on the world around us. So it's a switch for some people. Well, listen, somebody who's really predisposed that way, they've tuned out of this conversation already anyhow.
It's true.
For the rest of us, it's a bit of a, it can feel like a pardon the pun, a leap of faith, really, because it may not be as quick and as linear as a payoff, but it might be.
Well, and I think, look, there's just this element of programming. What you said earlier when you said something, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I would hope that I'm organized around that kind of thinking, right? What I hear in that relates to me is I recognize that there's this tension between how I was taught the world works and how I've come to personally understand it, that I'm going to call a deeper level. And so when my mind or my choices are organizing around this kind of winning, get the approval, my kids right now are at an age where they're really enamored with fame. I think our culture is, but my kids in particular are. And I keep thinking, wow, that's so dangerous. Maybe they'll be famous, but only because in my mind they're doing what they love in service to people who love what they do, right? But they don't get it that way. It really is, I want to achieve that. I want to, they see Lamborghinis driving down Beverly Hills, around in Beverly Hills, and they go, I want that. And I see the precarity of that. So for me, there's this tension. There's this negotiation with the part of me that bought into the story that it's a winning game. And I have to personally be reminding myself regularly that I want to come from a different operating system.
Yeah, I just don't think that they need to be mutually exclusive ideas. In fact, they're not. My second book is called The Radical Edge. In its first publication, we just re-released it, but in its first publication, the subtitle was Stoke Your Business, Amp Your Life, and Change the World. And the idea behind the radical edge, that edge is when you're doing all three of those things simultaneously. You're making money, you're pursuing the material things, you're amplifying personal joy and meaning, and you're having an impact to change the world for the better all at the same time. I think that's the ideal, and there is something in us, myself included, where we feel a little, schizo about, if I'm pursuing material things, is that really, is that a purpose-driven thing or not? And, well, why not all of it?
That's it.
Why not all of it?
That's it. Listen, it is a joy to have you on. Again, you've been on my wall for a while, so the fact that we're now talking is kind of fun for me. And the book, of course, Radical Leap, is a classic in my mind. So, folks, you should run out and get that. What else are you up to? Where can we send folks to find out more about what you're doing, Steve?
Yeah, thank you for asking. SteveFarber.com or ExtremeLeadership.com will take you to the same place. That's kind of where I live, and I have a free audio series that's available there. People can just sign up for it. And I've got we just released the 10th anniversary edition of the Radical Leap recently, which tells me that the original edition came out 10 years ago. That's my advanced math skills. So I'd love for people to pick up a copy of that and let me know what you think. And it's also available as an audiobook now, too, which is the first time I've done that for Leap, and I'm excited about that, too. So SteveFarber.com, there's some great stuff there, and it's all free.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on, Steve. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and until next time, keep leaping. Look before you leap.
Thank you, guys. Same to you. The pleasure was all mine.
All right. For those of you listening, we invite you to stay tuned. Barnett and I will be back after the break to wrap things up here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And we're back here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels, Barnet Bain. Okay, so here's the question, because it really is important what we kind of left off with. I love the idea that we can have it all, right? And that it can all be included in a very uplifting way. But what strikes me personally is how often I find myself objectifying people, how often I find myself playing business, it's business, and playing that game. I see the split for me. Mm-hmm. So I love that he's integrated it all, and it's fine. Mm-hmm. But for me, personally, and maybe this is my work, I don't know, but it kind of operates as, I don't know how to put it all together sometimes I do. Don't get me wrong. When I do something cool and it's out in the world and people are digging it and I'm getting paid for it, that feels great. But often it operates as disjointed. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I sure do. It's certainly my work.
Yeah.
But, there's work and work. What are we referring to when we talk about work? I see it as... and it's unique to every one of our listeners, and it's unique to everyone. They're going to have their own version of this, but at some point, we build up a collection of hurts, and they get channeled into sets of beliefs and attitudes. And then they show up as the prism through which the light of our life is shined. And the life purpose, in my view, is to put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
And we're back to the repair part.
We're back to the repair piece. So that's the whole deal. So if I get down at ground level, then my life. In the past, it's been very easy for me to look at what has been missing and what the sharp edges, the rough edges of my life. And if I kind of look at it from higher elevation, it has been a purposeful life. And when I look at your life, it has been a purpose. The overarching choice that you have made is one that is in pursuit of how you can give. And the other side of that, how we can receive, that's also part of giving, and we're just not conditioned to have that circuit flow quite as easily. But the overarching decision was a gifting one.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to really take... I don't want to say take pride, because that's not really the energy of it, but it really is to take a certain kind of acknowledgement of that. And possibly the beginning of the repair. Possibly it begins with the acknowledgement of that, so that we are not so estranged from the choices that we made, that even in what might have looked more disintegrated was beautiful and was beautiful and quite integrated.
And the repair, putting back together the truth about who we are, which I think we're all doing individually and collectively. I see a big reflection of that in our world, where it's coming back to the unity, the oneness, that there's one of us here, and what we do to the least of our brothers, we do to ourselves. And is there a way that we can really begin to organize our choices in a way where it's a repair, it's a putting back together. It's a big aspiration.
Well, it's a very difficult one, because it's theoretical. We conceptualize. We are like Orpheus before he descended to the underworld. So we live in the penthouse of our minds.
Right.
And
so let's go back to the feel. It feels good.
Exactly.
That's a great organizing principle.
When we entertain it at the level of thinking as a concept, it's such an abstraction. We are all one. It doesn't really have any substance for me.
Right.
And so it doesn't gain any traction. But I think I shared with you before, maybe even on the show, that about a year ago I was in my local coffee store, and there was this man there who told me that he had driven down from Santa Barbara, and where there a few days ago there had been a mass murder on the campus, and I thought he said that a friend's child had been murdered, and he said, "No, it was my own." And he said, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it feels good to say it, to share it." And so what went on in me is every part of me just went wild internally, and I understood. As a feeling sense, I could feel my connection to him. I understood somehow, experientially, that his pain and my pain were connected. The level of empathy that generated. So it's not conceptual. We experience oneness in an embodied way. It happens deep inside of places that are not concept.
I was listening recently to a Radiolab show, and the story...
They're all so great.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're good, those guys.
It moved me. It moved me so profoundly, and I don't need to go into the story about it, other than to say how the conversation and the story played out. I could feel myself in this man's pain. And this man who they were featuring was such a giver. But the story started with how much he'd given. I'm telling a little bit of it. One of the hosts of the show has had a 20-year relationship with this neuroscientist who has contributed to the show. They 20 years ago had him on as an expert or something in some way that he was contributing to their story. And he's been for 20 years feeding them things, and he's developed a relationship with this interviewer, this man who's one of the hosts of the show, and it comes to the point where he's going to die. The doctor, the neuroscientist, is been diagnosed with a cancer that can't be treated in his liver. He's going to pass, and they have this sort of final conversation, and it gets to really personal parts about his life, and I'm weeping as I'm hearing him tell his story. And the connection between the two.
We are all connected. So now the oneness starts to become a felt sense experience and not an abstraction. I mean, just go out and watch a dog go by.
Yeah.
I know that when I see dogs, not all dogs, but frequently I see dogs, they make me happy. There is something about the
connection,
playfulness of dogs, the sort of the aliveness of that limbic brain that is. There's no conceptualizing that we get in the neocortex. It's just pure emotionality and connection. They play, they love, they wag. And it reminds me, I feel it, and maybe I feel it because I am more estranged from my own relationship with that part of my brain, and more identified with my concept. But in that moment, you are. That's the point.
Whole point.
That's the oneness.
Yeah. So the
frontal cortex does not relate to oneness. It abstracts.
We said this on the last show with Preston and Alexi. The minute you start to talk about the experience, you're not in the experience. So, I mean, maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. But I think
you can talk about an experience. Otherwise, there would be no poets.
No, I know that. And
there would be no love songs.
And relaying the story in an authentic way is to experience it and re-experience it in a different way. It is. And
if you speak about the story as abstractions,
that's right.
Then in the way that politicians often do, and the way that we do most of my life is an abstraction. I am operating through logic and reason and processing data, and then I'll see a dog, and I'm back in my body.
Right. No, I get it. So you're right. There is something about how to be in the moment with an experience that isn't in the moment and reflect it in a way. That's the gift of storytelling, by the way, is to relive the story in a way where people can relate to it as if it's
you're particularly adept at that.
That's one of my favorite things in life.
You do that very well.
Well, you do too.
You make a story current.
Yeah.
And so that you're telling it filtered through the screen of your emotionality. It is not a bunch of data.
Well, I think this is our big growth edge. I mean, I remember the show. I don't remember if it was maybe a year or two ago. It was a long time ago. When Sandy said, "You guys are just head tripping. You need to get in your bodies. You need to connect with where you are now."
Yeah.
And then make that, just like you're saying, the filter through which you're talking about whatever you're talking about, versus going into this head trip and this concept where you're disconnected from it. It's not that important. So the feeling element is a critical aspect of whatever it is we're up to.
So the other critical aspect is that I'm looking at the clock and I see a critical countdown.
Critical countdown. So we want to just invite you all folks to check out the show, check out past shows, and continue coming back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. And we want to, again, give a shout out to our sponsors, the folks at Hampton Roads Publishing, Hierophant Publishing, and Insight Events USA that make this show possible.
And I'm so excited that my book is...
Oh, yes.
Yes, so if you're
Pre-order.
listening to it still a couple of weeks away, you can pre-order it. And if it's afterwards, then please check it out. The Book of Doing and Being.
Thank you.
Reawakening Creativity in Life, Love, and Work. Rediscovering Creativity in Life, Love, and Work. Until next time, this is Barnett with Freeman. And see you later.